Dolphins fans. You're watching Dolphins Today. Appreciate you all watching today's show. I am Will Scott, a.k.a. Willie Fins. And before we get started on today's show, we would appreciate you sharing today's video. Here's how you do that. You're going to click the share button, select the Twitter icon, click post to Twitter. You sharing it out to your Dolphins friends you have on Twitter, family members, coworkers. That helps us grow our channel here at Chat Sports. We'd really appreciate you sharing today's video. You can do that by clicking the share button. Again, selecting the Twitter icon, click post to Twitter. Shout out to Eddie, Sammy, Mike, and Aldo for doing that on our last video. All loyal supporters of the show sharing the show to Twitter. Appreciate all of you for sharing yesterday's video. Now, there's been a lot of Dalvin Cook to Miami rumors this offseason, and I thought that drafting Devon Achane would kind of put those rumors to bed. It did not. The Pioneer Press is reporting that Cook is expected to be traded to Miami. Here's what Charlie Walters, who covers the Vikings up there in Minneapolis, said. The Dalvin Cook trade, probably to his hometown Miami Dolphins, could occur at any time, even this summer. The best the Vikings can expect for Cook, who turns 28 just before the season, is a fifth-round draft pick. So here you have a guy that covers the Minnesota Vikings, very much in the know up there in Minnesota, says that Dalvin Cook is still expected to be traded to Miami. Not only that information, but he says that the compensation is going to be a fifth-round pick. And I'm not saying that Walters is not reputable. He's very reputable up there for the Pioneer Press. But I am not buying this. Maybe he was hearing this before the draft, or maybe before the Dolphins selected Devon Achane. But I believe still that the selection of Devon Achane signals that the Dolphins are not going to be pursuing Dalvin Cook. I have been wrong before. Maybe I will be wrong again. But I will be very surprised if the Dolphins end up signing Dalvin Cook after he gets cut, or if they end up trading for Dalvin Cook. Do you still want to trade for Dalvin Cook? And again, apparently the compensation, it would only take a fifth-round pick next year. That's really not that much. So do you still want to trade for Cook? Type T for trade or type P for pass down in comment section. Walters also said this about the Cook situation. The problem for the Vikings is Cook's $11 million salary for next season. The Dolphins also figure he isn't worth that much, so why give up much when they know the Vikings aren't going to pay him that much? If a trade can't work, the Vikings might just have to release Cook. So Cook, we've heard the trade rumors. We've heard the rumors he might get cut. I still believe that's a strong possibility that he gets cut. If I had to guess, I would say he stays in Minnesota. But that's certainly a possibility that he could be a cap casualty. But when you're talking about where he could fit on the Dolphins, you'd have to get rid of some of your current backs. I just don't see how he would fit on this team right now, because you do have three talented running backs right now in Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson, and Devon Achane. And then Salvon Ahmed and Myles Gaskin will probably compete for the RB4 job. I don't expect them to carry more than four running backs. We'll see what happens, but my goodness, if you, let's say, trade for Cook, is Jeff Wilson going to be RB4 or Devon Achane? I just don't see a world where that happens. So that's why I don't expect Cook to get traded to Miami. Now, they surprised me last offseason by cutting Sony Michel. I did not see that coming. I thought he was going to be RB3, maybe even RB2. They moved on from Sony Michel, so maybe they'll surprise me again and cut Jeff Wilson while they trade for Dalvin Cook. But again, I do not expect this to happen. Dalvin Cook, yeah, he might get traded. He might get cut. I don't think he ends up with the Miami Dolphins. However, the Dolphins were reportedly aggressive this weekend, trying to land a running back. Did they try to trade for DeAndre Swift? Jeremy Fowler says yes. Miami, I was told, was involved to some extent, but the Eagles pushed it over the top Saturday morning. And I was told Philly's even open to doing maybe like a short-term extension to try to keep him for multiple years because he's in a contract year. This is very, very interesting, and here's why. The Dolphins drafted Devon Achane on Friday night. DeAndre Swift gets traded to Philadelphia on Saturday, and that, of course, came after they drafted the Lions drafted Jahmyr Gibbs on Thursday. So he gets traded on Saturday. This is after the Dolphins drafted Achane. So after the Dolphins drafted Devon Achane from A&M, were they on the phone trying to get the Swift deal done? That's what it sounds like to me. Taking a look at the eventual deal that happened here between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Detroit Lions. The Eagles got an absolute steal here for DeAndre Swift. I would have been thrilled if the Dolphins have gotten something like this done. Eagles got Swift in a 7th-round pick. The Lions got a 4th-round pick next year and a 7th-round pick. I mean, that's an absolute steal for running back that's pretty solid in DeAndre Swift. And I will say this, and I know I said earlier that I do not expect them to pursue Dalvin Cook after drafting Achane. But if they went after Swift after they drafted Achane, they might go after Dalvin Cook as well. Maybe they're still not content with that running back room. But if I had to guess, they probably went after Swift before they drafted Devon Achane, and they probably stopped going after Swift after that Achane selection, and the Eagles traded for him the next day. That's probably what I think happened, but the timeline there is very interesting because if they pursued Swift after they drafted Achane, Dolphins might not be done trying to add a running back. Speaking of running backs, Raheem Mostert said he had a conversation with Mike McDaniel after the season, and he was apologetic about the offense for this past year. Here is what Raheem Mostert had to say. I had a talk with Mike during the exit interviews at the end of the season. One thing that he was very apologetic about was the fact that we didn't run enough and that he was going to do his best to change that for the upcoming year. When he talks like that, it just gets me fired up even more. So Raheem Mostert re-signed with the Dolphins in free agency. Said he had a conversation with McDaniel about the rushing offense, and McDaniel said he's going to run the ball more. Now, of course, the Dolphins, and we've talked about this, it was a disappointing season from the running backs. They ranked 27th in the league in yards per game. Supposed to be higher than 29. That's like, I think that's supposed to be 90-something. But that's 27th in the league. And then yards per carry was 23rd. And then attempts per game was 31st. So, yeah, they had the 27th ranked rushing offense in the league. But at the same time, they did not run the ball that much. They were 31st in attempts per game. So I expect Miami to run it more in 23. I think that's going to be a big part of the game plan. I think Tua's health also has a lot to do with that. I think they're going to want to run the ball more. What did Sandra Bullock say in The Blind Side? Run the damn ball. I think we're going to see a lot of that from Miami this year because, like I said earlier, this running back room is pretty solid with Mostert, Achane, and Jeff Wilson being your top 3 backs in no particular order. What is your confidence level in the current running back room? Scale it 1 to 10 down in the comment section. I'm a fan of it. Again, I was not crazy about re-signing all 4 of your running backs. I mean, imagine this. They re-sign one of Ahmed or Gaskin, re-sign one of Mostert or Wilson. Your top 4 backs for next year potentially could have been Dalvin Cook, Devon Achane, Raheem Mostert, Salvon Ahmed. I mean, that would have been a better room than we currently have. But still, I love the Achane pick. I expect him to be RB1 by the end of the year. I'm like at a 7 or 8 in terms of confidence in the current room. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, youtube.com/Dolphins News. I can just about promise you, if the Dolphins trade for Dalvin Cook, we're going to go live. Also, we got a special guest joining us on the show next week, so be sure to subscribe. You are not going to want to miss that interview. I can promise you that, so be sure to subscribe to the channel.